Welcome to Your Dose of Wowness. Today, we're going to listen for a sound that, by all accounts, just shouldn't exist. Okay, imagine this. It's 3 in the morning. You wake up. It's not an alarm clock. It's not thunder. It's a feeling. A low, steady rumble that you feel deep in your chest before you even realize you're hearing it. You get up, you check the pipes, you walk outside into that cold, still New Mexico desert air, and there's nothing. Your neighbor, yeah, she hears it too. But your cousin who drove all the way out to visit, he hears absolutely nothing. You even go to a doctor and they tell you your hearing is perfect. You know, for over 30 years, this has been the bizarre reality for a small group of people in Taos. So what in the world is going on? So let's set the scene. The town of Taos, New Mexico. It's nestled between mountains near the Rio Grande Gorge. It is the kind of place that artists move to specifically for the quiet, which makes what started happening in the early 1990s so incredibly strange. People started reporting this persistent, low-frequency sound, almost like a diesel engine idling somewhere far, far away. But here's the first major clue. Only about 2% of the population could hear it. They were called the hearers. And for them, it wasn't just a sound. It was a physical thing. We're talking pressure in the head, dizziness, even nausea. It was like their bodies were reacting to something in the environment that most people's senses couldn't even pick up. And look, this wasn't some minor annoyance. This suffering was real. People's lives were literally being dismantled by this invisible noise. One woman told investigators she couldn't even sit in her own living room anymore. Another family just up and sold their home to get away from it. One person had a documented psychological breakdown, all because of a sound nobody could find. By 1993, things had gotten so bad that the residents of Taos did something pretty extraordinary. They petitioned the United States Congress directly. And what happened next is one of the very few times in American history that the government has launched a formal investigation into a sound. And this was not a small-time operation. They brought in the heavy hitters. The University of New Mexico, Sandia National Labs, and even Los Alamos National Laboratory. Yeah, the place that built the atomic bomb. Some of the most sophisticated scientific minds in the country were all given one mission: find the source of the hum. And the report they published in 1995, it was stunning, mostly for what it didn't say. They confirmed it all. They said, yes, the hum is real. Yes, the people who hear it are having real physiological responses. And then they admitted they had no idea what it was. No industrial noise, no geological tremor, no military signal they were allowed to talk about. Nothing. This is where it gets really weird. I mean, think about any sound you've ever heard. Traffic, a plane overhead. Walls make it quieter, right? But with the Taos hum, it's the opposite. It actually seems to pass right through walls like they aren't even there. Or maybe it's coming from something that's already inside. So, in the decades since that official investigation just hit a dead end, 4 main theories have bubbled up. And, well, each one is a little stranger than the one before it. Let's walk through them. We'll start with the obvious and work our way to the deeply uncomfortable. The simplest answer, right? Industrial machines or some kind of natural geology? Well, that was the first thing the 1995 investigation ruled out. The frequencies just didn't line up. Okay, theory number 2. You gotta look at a map. Kirtland Air Force Base isn't that far from Taos. The idea is pretty simple. If the military is running some massive machinery deep underground, the vibration would travel through solid bedrock in ways that normal microphones on the surface just wouldn't detect. And here's the kicker. Several hearers independently mapped the sound to the exact same compass direction. That specific lead was never formally investigated, or at least not publicly. Now, theory number 3 is maybe the most scientifically believable. The U.S. Navy uses what's called very low frequency radio, VLF, to talk to submarines. These aren't sound waves. They're electromagnetic pulses that can pass right through the Earth. Well, there's a documented phenomenon where, for some people, their inner ear anatomy can actually perceive these pulses as sound. It means the hearers aren't people with super sensitive hearing. They might just be people whose bodies are accidentally tuned in, like an antenna, to secret military communications. And that brings us to the most disturbing idea of all. A researcher proposed that the hum isn't traveling through the air at all. It's traveling through the ground. The vibrations come up through the foundation of a building and then couple directly with the human skull through your feet on the floor. The sound isn't something you hear with your ears. It's a vibration your brain interprets as sound because your own skeleton is conducting it. And right when you think this is just a weird little story about one town, the camera pulls back, and you realize Taos is not alone. Not even close. There's the Bristol Hum in the UK, which people have been reporting since the 1970s. The Windsor Hum, right on the US-Canada border. There are hums in Auckland, New Zealand, and Bondi, Australia. And you start to see a pattern. They often show up in very specific kinds of places. Coastal areas, near major geological faults, or places with a big military presence. And the story is always the same. A tiny percentage of people are tormented by it, and no one can ever find the source. A single weird sound is a local mystery, a global pattern that starts to look like something else. I mean, just think about the time we live in. We have technology that can detect the gravitational waves from two black holes colliding a billion light years away. Our instruments are so sensitive they can measure a wobble smaller than 1,000th of the diameter of a proton. And yet, we can't find the source of a low hum in a town of 6,000 people. This doesn't seem like a failure of technology, so you have to ask yourself, what is it a failure of?
Which really just leaves us staring at one big, lingering question.
At the end of the day, it feels like there are only two real possibilities here. Is this just some piece of classified technology that the government knows all about but can never, ever admit to? Or are we dealing with some kind of natural phenomenon that is so far outside our current science that our tools aren't even pointing in the right direction? The answer, it seems, is still out there, just humming away right at the edge of what we can perceive. And that is day 36. We are officially kicking off a new week with a new kind of mystery. One that isn't buried in some ancient ruin, but is humming right now, just beneath our feet. 36 days in a row. I just have to pause and say a huge, profound thank you for being here every day. Your commitment, your curiosity, that is what makes it possible for us to go this deep, to really sit with these questions instead of just skating over the surface. If feeling the genuine strangeness of the world gives you something new, then you're in the right place. Join us on this journey. Subscribe to Your Dose of Wowness. We will be here tomorrow.